What is going on, you guys? Today's project is starting the deck. So what we're going to do first here, this is going to be a 6 foot out. It's going to go a little bit over that vent. We're going to have to move that most likely. And then 10 foot out this way. There'll be an opening here and a staircase down over to this way. First thing we're going to do is put our ice and water on to flash the wall. And you know, this is very important. You got to do this. So what I did here is I dropped 2.5 down to the top of our deck here, and then our inch. So add another inch. So 3.5 is going to be the top of our framing. So I just marked out here roughly where it's going to go, so I know where to tape. Everything's going to be taped, and then I'll mark it again to mark where our frame is going to go. At that point there, I can mark one spot and then just level it out. So I'm going to frame up the top here, and then I'll establish where I'm going to put my 2 posts down to here, and we'll just run a plumb line. So let's get straight into it.
What facts belong, it's hard to say. Your pattern is so hard to tell, but we're together, that's our game. Round and round and round we go. The dance ain't over, I'm sure we're still the same. Love the ways you make us whole. Would you say if things ain't right? Look away, what's really going on? What's really going on? Would you tell me, can't you say what's really going on?
Here I have this is going to be our ledger board basically, and it's going to attach to the rim joist over here from the existing house, and we're coming out, and the beam out here is going to be this way, carrying all of the joists here. We're going to go 12 inch on center. We're using some existing Trex decking, so I just wanted to make it nice and stiff. So obviously we have the one on the wall there, which we're going to cut 3 inches short because we'll have this one and that in the far end cap. And so I have marked out 12 inches on center. And then down here I'm going to picture frame the outside pieces not hitting the house. So I have our end joist, and then I marked out for a 2x4 that's going to lay sideways. And then I marked out another joist here. This is just going to be an extra to lock this 2x4 in, which is going to support our picture frame with our pieces running laterally in here. So it has a backer. So what I'm going to do is put this up right now. I'm just going to nail it in, and then we'll put some GRKs in there. All right, so that's tacked up now. What I'm going to do is cut my 10 foot board 3 inches shy, and then I'll start on that side, make sure it's level with that piece, and then we'll level it down here.
There's no sane ways, there's no explanations. I've got things I tend to moan. In these times, just please be patient. Be my shore, you be my home. Drag us out and build us up again. Put things right.
All right, guys, so I got that nailed in nice and level by myself. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to put some GRKs in here. The more, the better, guys. Want this thing locked in tight.
No way of knowing if there's still time. Look away, what's really going on?
All right, guys, so I'm going to be using 5-inch ledger locks. These are the flat heads. They replace 1/2-inch lag bolts. You're going to have those naysayers that don't use zip, or they say zip is bad. They're going to say you need to use lag bolts. These are rated. There's plenty of testing that goes on these. They don't sell these for no reason. We're going to throw plenty in there. It's very important you have your layout already done, because if you put one of these on there, then you have to put a joist on there. It's kind of stupid. So make sure you do your layout, put it in between there, and yeah, they come in a box of 50. So freaking get these things in there, guys. All right, now that's secure up there, I have a tiny little gap on that outside ledger there. And what I'm going to do is cut my flashing for the ledger board. This is very important. This is where decks rot out, right on the house, water getting behind that ledger board. They do make like water getting behind that ledger board and rotting out the house. That's the number one way your deck is going to fail. So with the ice and water there, and then with this, and then this will be over, and then it'll be taped above. So the water will hit this and go down. And some people trim over the joist if they forget to do it before. We're going to have it right there, and it's going to run right down the face of this, and that's going to be perfect and give us the best opportunity for a long life deck. So let me get this cut, and we'll get it up there. So I just cut our end joist right there, and then our cap here. And these are heavy, soaked, pressure treated pieces of wood. They're very heavy. I'm doing this by myself, so I'm gonna give myself an advantage. I'm gonna put this piece screwed up in the bottom over there to hold it there, okay? Then I'm gonna get it roughly in place here, and then, yeah, this is gonna help us out a lot while we get this thing braced up. So, I say we, me. While I get this braced up, this is gonna help.
Please just talk to me if things ain't fine. Look away, you just look away. Why would you say things ain't right? Would you tell me, can't you say?
All right, so I got that pretty level there. I just secured it with 3 nails for now. Obviously, we're gonna do a little bit more than that. So I'm going to lay out our 10-foot piece here, and then just get it secured, and then we will tighten up these points to secure this thing. So let's get it. So here I marked 18 inches back, and this is where we're going to put our beam. So I just set this board, and we're going 18 back and then 18 in, and that's where our posts will be. The beam's obviously going to run all the way across, but our 2 posts will be here, 18 inches in, and run the plumb bob down from those 2 locations, spray it on the ground, and that's where we're going to put our sonotubes. I'm just going to pour the concrete and then drill with my SDS and then put our anchors in that way. In the past, I've done J-bolts in the concrete. Some say are stronger, but it's harder to get perfect. And if you have the SDS, it doesn't really matter. In 2x10s, I'm going to triple it up, and that's going to be for our carrier beam. And then we're gonna go 6x6 underneath that. I'm gonna cut these down to 6 foot, and then I'm just gonna nail them together, and then I'm gonna go back with 5-inch ledger locks and just tighten them up. Won't go anywhere. Just got our beam up here. I put 2 timber locks on each side here, and I'm gonna use my plumb bob now, hit down on the center of the sonotube, and that's gonna mark where our posts are gonna go. All right, so I just marked here on my sonotubes where the center is, or where it's gonna fall for the beam above, and we're just gonna use an SDS with a 1/2 inch, 5.5 wedge bolts there. It's gonna lock this thing into place, and it'll be on these brackets. These are gonna sit the post off the concrete, so you don't have to worry about any rot on the post. As you guys can see, this just sits down under that channel there. Throw our washer on. And you lock that bad Larry in place. Ain't going anywhere. So I just measured our post length, and obviously 6x6, you're gonna have to spend a few times rotating this thing to get this cut. So I just got all my floor joists up, or joists for the deck. They're toenailed in here. They have hurricane ties. They have joist hangers here, 10D joist hanger nails, and then yeah. Next step I'm gonna do, I have here for blocking for our picture frame on our Trex decking. And what I'm going to do now is put in our railing posts now. I'm going to cut those to length, and then I'm going to put a block to hold it at the height I want. Doing this by yourself is going to be a lot easier. It'll be saving you a bunch of time if you just do this ahead of time. That I have my posts already. I was gonna put those up real fast. I have my joist tape. I'm gonna go ahead and tape all the joists, and this will go over our flashing and help you maximize the life of your deck, because when the water gets under your deck boards and just sits on the top of that joist, the fasteners into the deck is where it always rots out joist wise. So this is gonna prevent that. This is like a gooey substance, and it'll basically create a barrier around the screw when it goes in. right, so this thing's leveled in. I just tacked it in with some nails, and we're gonna throw this through. Unfortunately, you can't get a, this system's really cool. It kind of grabs this and just sucks it right in. Even on a single board, it's crazy sturdy. So I like that on the other side, but here we're not gonna be able to do that, but it's still pretty sturdy. I think I might put a block on the next joist over just to tighten this up a little bit. And of course this is going to get tightened up also when we put our deck boards on here. So right now I'm going to be putting some blocking in for our picture frame. The rest of our deck is going to go this way along the joist, and then obviously this way. You can't just set it on one piece here. It's going to be notched out for the post, so you're going to need the standard overhang plus a spot to sit your pieces that are going laterally. So you need to add a flat 2x4 in between two joists, and that's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to try to make it as flat as possible, just using a speed square, and then we'll nail this thing in from the side. Alright, so that's all in now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some valley flashing, like the same ice and water type stuff over this, just because water will pool on here and we don't want it to rot out. So on this deck, the top is going to be Trex being reused from the existing deck, and the bottom is just going to be pressure treated treads. So what we're going to do is our first step is going to be down one, which we need a mounting spot for our stringers, and so we need to make a nailer. What I went ahead and just did was, out of a 2x10, just cut right here. We cut a 3, 7.5, 7.5, and a 5, so we can fill in here. Half will be up here, half will be sitting down, and then we'll just nail in an 8-inch board here, and that's going to be our nailer board to give us a nice big front to seat our stringers on. All right, so we got a couple different things going on here. We need to find the stringer dimensions, and it's tough because we're not in a building and it's not one consistent height all the way here. So basically what I did here is I laid a board on the ground. I put a level on it so we get the same height from there to where we think our stringer is going to land, which is about 13-foot diagonal, and we have this dug out. So basically the height from there to the deck is 100 inches, and then the 2x6 is going to be 1.5, so we have 101.5, and that's going to be our number, and our stringer should land right here at the bottom of this 2x6. And then basically after I put the stringer up, I'm gonna put in a 5-foot by about 16-inch landing, or where our stringers are going to sit on, and we'll pour concrete there. So there is a little gap, but I'm just going to dig down a little bit and we'll set that nice and level, and then we'll fill it in with concrete, put our stringers on. But we want to make sure our stringers are perfectly right and it's in the right area. You don't want to pour concrete and have it be wrong. So I took our 1015 and I put it into the Dex.com stringer calculator, and we are doing 14 rises of 7 1/4. That's with a 10-inch depth of the tread. So we're going to use our square here and start laying out these stringers. So we're on our 2x12x16. Obviously we don't need this whole thing, but it's going to give us plenty of room. So first thing we're going to do here is, so this will be our 10-inch run here. This will be the first run. Okay. And so if you're looking at it, you're gonna be walking up the stairs this way. All right, so 10 inches, 7 1/4. It's what it told us there. And then we're gonna come over here. And the last, or the first bottom step, is gonna be 6 1/4. So we're gonna mark that real fast. 6 1/4. So going up the stairs, we have our first step. 1 rise, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So that'll bring us our top step. Flip your square over and give a line there. And that's gonna be where it mounts up here to our 14th stringer here. All right, so plus our finish length. So we're 7 1/4 for the top, and we have 1 inch decking. So I went 6 1/4 down and marked the line there. Make sure you account for your top finish. And this one's already prepped here. Basically, I need to frame in where we're gonna lay a concrete pad down here, and then I can lay these up here and just make sure it's gonna sit right, and it should be nice. Obviously, we're gonna do some stringer hangers there. So let me get to it. We got our first stringer all set. We're gonna trace it on 3 more times. So up here, I've kind of created a little ledger of the correct height where that's gonna sit. Push these up and I screwed these in. Marked our 2 center stringers right there. And we come down here and I laid them out. So I dug this out. I had to go down a little bit and it's nice and level here. These sit nicely on here. And what I'm gonna do now, I moved them to the side for now. And I'm just gonna pour this with concrete, put a little bit of rebar in there. And then tomorrow we can get these stairs all done up. All right, guys, so we have our stringers attached. We have our bottom plate in there nailed in. It's not secured to the ground yet. Everything's taped. And what I'm doing now is I'm doing our bottom posts. I just cut these 48 inches. These are gonna stick up past the railing. And I just put this here and we're putting 5 inches below. Probably be cut after. And then I use 2 through locks. This thing is darn sturdy. If we do have a little bit of rotation on this, so we'll try to plumb this up. Basically, when I put the first deck board, or I'll start in the center and do that and secure the 2 middle pieces, and then we'll make sure this is plumb, and then we'll secure the outside. That way it's locked in nice and plumb and we don't have a crooked handrail. If you're doing handrails, these through locks are the key, man. These things grab and pull in so freaking tight. It's crazy. It's not going anywhere. So what I did there is got our plumb. That way it's held there and we could add our through locks now without worrying about it wobbling back and forth. Obviously these nails aren't really gonna hold this in here, just holding it while we put these in. so where I'm putting these is going to be in the split of the 5/4 deck board. So it'll be a notch out of each board, and that's probably the way you want to do it, just so you have the maximum amount of the board sitting on the outer. All right, so we plumbed the post this way, and what we have to worry about now is them going this way, because it can rotate pretty easily just being on the stringer. So I just put 2 up in the center, 2 runs here, and I pulled them to be plumb. Obviously I still have 1 more to do there, but I'm going to do those last, and then I'm going to secure the rest of these boards here. We're going 50 inches on the 48 for the stringers, a little bit of overhang, and I'm using a camo system. It's kind of tough because you can't really get it in the stairs, but you can use it for spacing on the second step. So so now this is where you can crank on your supports here to make them plumb, screw them in obviously, and then the end face cap will do the same thing. So I'm gonna do that right now. Set is all set. Ha, you like that? Anyway, okay, so besides the railings, the faces and the runs are done. I think it came out nice. And now up here for this client, we are reusing some existing Trex that he had. Not my choice, it says. I don't really care. That's what we'll go with. So we did PT stairs, and we're doing the Trex. So obviously we're gonna picture frame this, and we need a picture frame here and then there, and then that'll be a nice short little run that we have all the pieces for, except we had to get 1 of the pieces for the picture frame. So this can be kind of intimidating because you have to notch out and you have to come over, and we are gonna overhang the framing 3/4 of an inch. And I'll show you real quick. Basically what you're gonna do is, this is a 6-foot frame, and you're just gonna come over 6 3/4. And then, as you can see, I just put this up as a little jig, right? So if you're at 6 3/4, your point will come here, and then you'll just 45 that, and then it'll match up perfectly there. So basically just add on what you have there, and you could put this up if you don't really trust me, but that's where our picture frame will meet there on a mitered corner. And then basically when we cut those, we can flip it over and then mark our notches and then cut it out of the board. You just want to pay attention, you know, you don't want to waste a $120 groove board, 16 foot. So let's get to it. So we got that cut now, and you can just lay it out here, and you can see that that's going to be perfect on our miter. So now how it's sitting right here, you could just trace the back side, just like we did those other posts. So from the back side, I traced it onto the side. It's hard to see with this color, but here are our post outlines, and then I traced it a little over 2 1/4. We're gonna have post sleeves over these, so it'll cover it up. But yeah, so our 1.5 inches plus the 3/4 overhang. All right, so I just used a jigsaw and a multi-tool, cut these bad Larrys out. Let's see if it fits. Oh, it looks freaking perfect. Looks really good. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. Man, that looks pretty freaking good. Nice little gap in there for expansion, contraction. And that's gonna do it, guys. Used our hidden fasteners here, the end clips that go into the grain there, and they're in there. These are notched out in there, and we're just putting our So we're using the drill with the clutch to stop the screws from going too far. Here's just the square edge top piece. We didn't go for skinning and putting it on there. He was okay with that. So this will give him a nice spot to put a drink, or if you're doing something right on the edge here, but also provide the grip for going up and down the stairs here. So I did not record the whole deck process. I put our post sleeves on here, and then obviously we use these mounting brackets here for the 2x4s, and then our balusters. We use the this old houseway and use the stretchy piece to get our exact spacing perfectly. Perfect spacing on all of those. Here I did the same thing. We left those long for LED post caps. I ripped down a 2x4 to 2 inches and laid it flat on here. I routed all the edges so it's nice. It's screwed, glued, and nailed in here. Shouldn't go anywhere. Homeowner does not want these balusters here, although it is a code. We'll see what the inspector says. We'll see if he's fine with it. Sometimes we can get away with it. We have them on hand if we need to put them on there. But yeah, that is all done. Majority of the framing there